Hello everybody, my name is Pascal Noel and this is a tutorial video for the Advanced Video Clip Manager Clipbox. If you don't already own Clipbox, go to nohl.lu and download your copy for free. So here we go. The advanced database functions start exactly here, at the first dialog of Clipbox. You can have multiple databases with multiple data folders. We have already seen this in the Create Your First Database. You can click on the plus button and navigate to a known database to add it to the list, or you can remove a database from the list by clicking on the minus button. So now I'm going again to my Tutor database and I add it again to the list. At the end of these databases you have a color field. You can click on it to select the color. Let's say our Tutor database, we want it to be in dark green. What this means we'll see it soon. So open the file. Now we see that after opening the file, the color of the database is shown here. So we actually know we are in CB Tutor, and we can also recognize the database by a color code. Another little bit hidden feature is you can click on this to open the database dialog and to open another database with another color code and switch back to your database again. Now let's talk again about the multiple data folders or media folders. Go to Clipbox Preferences. You see here the data storage and we see our Media 01 folder. Go to Add Folder and you can select either an already existing empty folder, or you can go to our database. We can create a folder from here, Media 02, and select it as media folder. See that we now have two media folders here. We can add a third one, a fourth one, a fifth one. The big difference is that this one here has this mark here. It's the primary folder. The primary folder is the same as every other folder, but it's the first folder that Clipbox searches for media. So on older machines, clips in this folder may be a little bit fast available, but normally it makes no difference. But the big difference is that new imported files go to this folder. If you want to change that, we simply say set as primary folder for folder 2. I need to update the dialog. There's still a little updating glitch. And now we see that Media 02 is the primary media folder. So in practice, now imported files go to Media 02. Let's take a look at our Finder. We have our TutorDB, we have our Media folder 1 and our Media folder 2. Now I'm doing something very crazy. I'm taking some clips and I'm moving them to the Media folder 2. Both folders are known to the database. So let's switch back to the database. Now let's search for missing files. Clipbox doesn't find any missing files because all the files, regardless of which one I select, has a green icon here because all files are connected to the database. So it isn't important in which media folder your data is. Your file has just to be in one of the media folders. If it's out of the media folder, it's not found, but it's inside the media folder, it's found. So this means if you create, for example, a folder on an external disk and your disk becomes full and you connect a second disk, you can even, if the second disk is much larger, copy the entire data to a new folder on the second disk and go to the preferences and reference this folder as a media folder. This makes Clipbox very flexible. You can have tens or hundreds of these folders. Now let's take a look at the file menu. File database. You have three options: backup, export and vacuum. So if you select backup, Clipbox just asks you for a location and a name for your backup. Let's say I will backup it in the same folder as the database. Save. Backup finished. Now when I'm looking at my Finder, I have here a file called cb22 backup with the date of today. So this is a backup file of my database. The backup file contains all the information of the original database, but it does not have separate media folders. The media folders are not backed up by this operation. Let's first take a look at the third option of this menu, vacuum. Vacuum is an internal function of an SQLite database. To understand it, imagine that an SQLite database stores records sequentially, one after the other. So imagine it of a file of boxes. When you remove a record, the box is removed, but the hole is still into the file. So removing over the time more and more boxes creates more and more holes. These holes are empty, but they take place in the storage file. So your database grows up, and by doing a vacuum, these holes are closed and one box is pushed against the next box. So your file will go down in size, and maybe your database will even become faster. So now let's take a look at the export function. Clipbox does not lock your data into Clipbox. It offers several ways to export your data. The easiest and first way is export files to a folder. Export. We export it to a folder into our tutor database called export. Select. So now we switch to the Finder. And now you see that in our export folder we have all the movies from the database. They have not been moved, but they have been copied to this folder. So all the files are in another folder that you can use any way you want. Another feature is to export JSON to a folder. Let's click export, select our export folder, select, and let's switch again to the Finder. And we see that it created a folder data containing all our movies from the database, but also a file called index.json. We can open this file in the preview, but it will be very cryptic. But I have another editor that's more pleasant. It's JSON here. So in JSON we see that it is a database format file. You have the records, items, I see the file ape movie, I see the path, and I have the info, file type, and so on. So the difference from the first export is that here I have a data file formatted in a known database format, in a known format for many other applications that can read out the information about every movie. So the next option is export XML to folder. I will not show you this in live because it's the same thing as a JSON export, just with a file in the XML format, extended markup language, with another database format file that can be read by many applications. So now we come to what is called XML database dump or JSON database dump. You can limit the number of records you want to export. Leaving it to 0 means everything is exported. I click on export and I create my JSON database file dump. This takes some time. So now that this is finished, it takes really a long time. Take a look at our Finder again. So here we have this JSON file. I will open it again with JSON. So now we have our JSON file that we can analyze here. So in our JSON files we have our tables. The table name, for example, this table category, the columns the table does contain, column name, ID, file type 5 is primary true, is null false. We have a column name, we have a column type. In the next table we have a table file with many columns. One column is ID, one column is a name, one column is a sheet, and so on. This is really the database structure of the SQLite database. So even anyone else can take out data from the SQLite database. Any programmer can use this data to know where to get which data from the Clipbox database. So any other application can connect to the database. So this is not closed by me. It's dangerous because someone can connect to your database and do bad things if he's a bad programmer. But it also gives you the possibility to access your data directly in the database with another application than Clipbox. So now let's look again at the function inject selected records into another database. We have the option here to delete moved records after injection. I will not do it. Replace tags for clips already present at destination. That means that the tags at the destination will be replaced. That's fine for me. Now open the database. I already prepared an empty database that I call database 2. Inject. So we see here all 4 movies have been treated successfully. Close. The movies are still in our database because I selected to not remove them. I will switch to database 2, open file, and the 4 movies are there. So we are now at the end of this tutorial, and in the next tutorial I will show you some tips and hints for Clipbox.